Welcome back. AJ here with ProLine. We are on video 7 of our series on setting up ProLine's quoting. And in this video, we're going to be looking at customizing the settings for our quote template. In our last video, we looked at building out the options and the upgrades. So we're going to open this generic roof replacement template now. So we have our options and upgrades built out, but now we're going to go down here to our different settings down here at the bottom. I'm going to move this up here. Let's start with default quote settings. So for the most part, it's different for every section here, but for the most part, these settings are all things that you can customize further on an individual quote basis. So you're setting the high-level defaults here, and then you can customize them down once you actually generate a quote. The first thing is the name of the quote. So this name up here is for the template. So this is not customer-facing. It's not, your prospects won't see this on your quotes, but this is what the actual quote is going to be called. Now, it can be customized later, but this is what it will be by default. So we'll put in just roof replacement. Perfect. Now, design theme, this is where you choose your color theme for this quote. There's a lot of different places that this shows up in our default design for our ProLine quotes. So you can have this match. Generally, you're going to want this to match your brand colors. So you can customize that. Financing offer. Do you want to advertise a financing option for your quotes? And this will appear on your individual options. So it'll give you the price for the option on the quote, and then it'll give you the estimated monthly payment if you financed it. And so you can toggle that on and off here, and then you can also disable it or enable it on individual quotes as well. But if you wanted to show on any of your quotes, you'd have to enable it up here at the template level. You also can calculate that based on the subtotal or the total. So it's up to you. If, for example, you have discounts that you don't want to provide if they go the financing route, you have that ability to toggle which either the subtotal or the total is being used to calculate the monthly payments. Then you put in your rate and the terms. So if your typical financing offer is 60 months at 5%, something like that, you can put those numbers in there. ProLine will calculate that monthly payment for the prospect and put it onto the quote. Lastly, you can put a financing link. So if you have a link that goes to an application, for example, you might want to put that into your quote so people can easily click on it, go over the application page, and fill that out. So that is where you'd put that. Coming down here to profit margin. Profit margin is a big deal, and you want to protect this. So we have a lot of controls here that you can toggle. So you have the default profit margin for the quote, but then also you can control whether or not you want to allow managers and basic team members to change that profit margin. If you enable either of these, you're going to be able to give a range within which each permission level is able to change that profit margin. So in this case, we have managers can go down as low as 28, and then basic team members can go down as low as 30. You can also, you could have this just at 99 if you wanted to, or you can have it lower if you want to also limit the top side as well. Lastly, we have this disable merchant fee margin build-in for template. This is a setting related to our payments and invoicing, which is a really, really cool feature that we have with how those interact with our quotes. You have the option to disable this. The reason why you might want to override it at this level and not do what would normally happen with the settings over in billing enabled, which we will go over here in a moment, would be maybe this is a contract where you just need to put in the actual amount on the quote and have that be the amount that shows. So you don't want any other setting kind of messing with that. With the merchant fee build-in, that's being built into the profit margin, is we're building the merchant fee in for you for card processing. And so, yeah, if it's like a contract, like for insurance, for example, maybe you're just sending a job contract because the insurance approved it. Now you need the homeowner to sign the contract to actually move forward with the job. You don't want like card fees and stuff. The price just needs to match what was approved by insurance, right? So that's what that setting is there for. Then we have the deposit here. So you can set a deposit. This is also editable at the end quote level, the individual quote level, but you can set, for example, 15% deposit. So it will say on the quote that 15% is due at signing, and then the balance is due at the end of the job. So you can have this be any percentage you want of the total price of the quote, whatever is being signed for, and you can set that ahead of time. Then we have discounts. So you can add discounts ahead of time that go on any quote that's created with this quote template. And these are just the default discounts, but maybe you always want to have some kind of discount and just you want it to go out. Maybe you want to have a special type of quote template that's only for certain types of jobs, and there's just always a discount that goes out on there. There's various different reasons why you might want to do this, but you can add it at the quote template level. Then lastly, we have line item price and quantity visibility. So by default, ProLine is set up typically not to show any of this. So if something has 0 quantity, it's just not going to show up regardless of any visibility settings. It's not going to show up on the quote if it has a 0 quantity. If and then also ProLine is not by default going to show quantities to the prospect on the quote, and is not by default going to show the prices of individual line items. It'll say the overall price of an option and of the quote itself, but it's not going to break down what the prospect is paying for each line item that appears. Now, if you want to toggle any of this on, you can. So you can have ProLine show line items with 0 quantities. You can have it show quantities. You can have it show pricing for individual line items. Completely up to you. But by default, these will be off. And so that covers our default quote settings. Let's move on to our send quote actions. These are the actions that ProLine is going to take for you when a quote is sent. So when you send the quote, ProLine is going to move the project that this quote is associated with to the stage that you select here. So normally, of course, you want that to be quote sent. So once you send the quote, ProLine will move the project connected to this quote to quote send. Then you also can outline the template that is being used to generate the send quote text message. So the text message gets sent when you send the quote. You can customize how that is generated here. Same thing with the email. You can use our variables to pull in information from the contact, from the project, and push these into the email. These get automatically generated right when you go to send the quote. It'll generate the message, and then you can go in and edit these. So if you want to change this on an individual quote basis and send a different message, you can change this before you send it. But this is just what the default will be for quotes generated with this quote template that you send. And then lastly, we have basically identical options here for signed. So the only difference is that these messages here are not editable at an individual quote level, just because they happen automatically when the quote is signed. So there's no way to customize it on an individual quote level. So these are just controlled here at the quote template level. And then we have the signed quote stage. So normally you'd want this to be like 1, or if you have signed contract, whatever you have, you would want that to be here. Now, for both these options, we also have this attach a PDF copy. This can be toggled on and off. Not everybody wants this. One thing that has happened, feedback that we've had, is that sometimes if you attach the PDF to the send quote action, people will get confused and they'll download the PDF and try to sign it instead of using because we have digital signing in ProLine in our quotes. And if they click on the link here, it will take them to the page to sign it. But sometimes people get confused. They just don't read, and they just look and see the PDF, and they download it and try to print it, and it turns into a mess. So some companies still haven't had that problem, and so they want to continue to send a PDF copy when they send the quote. It's completely up to you. You can toggle it on and off. Same thing with signed. They have a link that goes directly to the signed document. So you don't have to attach a PDF, but you can if you want to. You can toggle this on or off, whether or not you want ProLine to send the PDF copy. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. I do want to go over our relevant billing settings that affect quotes. So let's head over to billing. And this is a really, really cool feature that we've had massively positive feedback on for companies that are using our invoicing and payment tools, which are phenomenal, very easy to use, very deeply integrated with our quotes. So everything just sort of automatically populates over when you're going to send the invoice. Now, these options here for card fee handling do affect quotes if you're selecting these options down here. So if you're choosing to not pass along fees, when you send the invoice to a customer, you can have it just say that card processing is the same price as ACH, and the same price as cash. If you want to do it that way, you can. And then you can build the card fee of 3.2% plus 25 cents into your profit margin automatically. That way you're not coming out of pocket on it, not directly anyway. It's still being passed along, but it allows you to pass along the card fee without actually, while still being able to present the same price regardless. So regardless of it really just depends on how important it is to you to be able to make it easy for people to pay however they want to. If you're doing roof replacements, maybe that's going to be pretty strenuous. If you're doing more roof repairs, smaller ticket projects, maybe you just want to make it as easy as possible for people to just use their credit card and just run it, right? Because you want to collect payment fast, in which case this is a great option for you to make that payment process easy. And then you can just build it into your profit margin so that you don't actually lose any money. Now, if you want to pass card fees to customers, you have the same option here to build card fee in. And you can also just deselect this. If you deselect it, then nothing happens on the quotes. There's no connection. I mean, there is a connection to the invoices, but the billing settings and our invoices won't change anything on your quote. But if you have that selected and you're passing card fees to customers, which means when they go to pay their invoices from you that are sent from ProLine, it will have a card fee. So it'll say, if they select card, it'll say 3.2% plus 25 cents, and it will have that amount, which can be very large. If they're paying with a card and they're paying a $20,000 project, that's going to be like $600. I think, something like that. It's going to be pretty substantial, like almost 700. And so you don't want to be funding their free vacation that they're getting in points, right? So you can pass that card fee along to them. But if you also choose to build it into your profit margin on quotes, now if you just built it in, you would end up double charging them, because you would charge them in your profit margin, and then you would charge them when they pay with their card. But ProLine, the way ProLine handles this is, if you want to build the card fee in automatically, ProLine's going to automatically add a cash discount of 3.2% plus 25 cents to your quotes. And I'm not sure if this should show up in the quote template. Let's go look. So yeah, it won't show up here in the quote template, but it will show up when we go to generate the quote. It will basically put in automatically a discount, just like a discount you would add manually, but it's not editable, and it will add a cash discount to your quotes. Now, the really cool thing about this is that means your price is going to be competitive, because you're not going to build in that card fee, so your price will be as low as it can be, while still maintaining your profit margin. but then it's clear to the customer that that price is only if they pay cash. If they're going to pay with card, then when they get to that ProLine invoice and they select card, ProLine's going to automatically take that cash discount away from you by charging them the fee at that stage. Whereas if they choose ACH, or if they just choose to give you a check or cash, then ProLine will honor that cash discount. ACH is a little bit different because you can also choose to pass along the fees. The fees are very small relative to card, but you might still want to pass them on to the customer. But you can still justify that very easily and say, well, ACH is not technically cash. ACH is ACH. So if you want the full cash discount, then you actually have to give us cash or a check, physical check if you want to accept that as well. So it really gives you complete flexibility here. And I know that was kind of a big kind of rabbit trail there on invoicing and payments, but it's important to kind of understand all that to understand how it affects the quotes. And we're going to take a look at this in the next video, because we've now covered all these relevant settings. And so in the next video, we're actually going to see the final product. We're going to generate a quote using this template, and you'll get to see how all of this plays out on the quote that has been generated. And so I will see you then.